I haven't even blasted off yet, so I probably should. Okay. What it did to Gaza. What happens next after Hassan Nasrallah's nation. Massive hurricane damage in country that refuses to acknowledge climate change. And later, Israel already in some parts of southern Lebanon probing in and out. For your information, yeah, I know Israel has already done a special military operation into Lebanon, and the invasion has started already. But we'll continue with that. And later, I will be going to USC to talk to the students there. All Cam, get in now. Yeah, later tonight, I'm going to USC, and I'm going to be streaming that as well. Okay. Do we have a blast off meme? Is it true you're coming to Oxford sometime in the next 2 months? Yes, it is true. Reuters reports the Lebanese army is retreating from various positions along the border. Multiple reports indicating today, claiming that the IDF will cross the Lebanon within the next hours, though supposedly to operate in a limited fashion. Haaretz already reports the IDF is conducting tank and artillery strikes in southern Lebanon. Now that northern Israel is officially closed military zone, and the U.S. will send thousands of soldiers to the region. This is one of those. This is yet another one of those instances where it's like, I hate to fucking tell you, but I told you. I fucking told you. Okay? I told you so, and it's happening. And the October surprise is not a surprise at all, and it's fucking happening regardless. For the record, my Oxford talk, I believe, would directly be about Israel too. So my Oxford Union talk, but that's later. That's later in the year. What is USC? The University of Southern California. How many kidneys do I have to sell to get you to visit South Africa? That's going to be a tough one. All right, we're blasting off. We got a lot of news to cover. We got a lot of stuff to get to. I'm also trying to set up an interview with an academic, a historian on Lebanon, specifically Hezbollah as well, a scholar. He's a Palestinian historian, Abed Takriti. Abed Takriti. He's like an Arab politics guy, scholar, and I'm very interested to hear what he has to say about, the history of Hezbollah, and like I have a lot of questions for him, and so we'll see. You misspelled Hassan on the blast off tweet. Okay, whatever. Everybody misspells my name. I misspelled his. It is what it is. Okay, everybody calm down. So first and foremost, okay, before we get to Israel, Lebanon, and Hassan Nasrallah. No, stop, please. I have so many fucking haters, okay? Chatters, stop linking me, my friends defending me, okay? I have so many goddamn haters, so many fucking eyeballs. Just stop being parasocial weirdos, okay? I know you think you're helping. I know you think it's cute. I know you think it's wonderful, but stop, okay? I don't want to put my fucking friends more so in the goddamn crosshairs of delusional psychopaths. Be fucking normal, all right? Stop. Jesus Christ. Anyway. My sister is stuck in Asheville, North Carolina right now. We haven't heard from her in 4 days, but know that she's okay. Montgomery County VA is also under a boil water rule right now due to water contamination. Yeah. All right. Israel's literally invading Lebanon right now as we speak. I know. There's so much going on, man. Holy fucking shit. I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know where to get. Okay. Everybody insta spams a bunch of shit going on. I know. Israel's Channel 13 correspondent Mariah Ashraf is reporting that Israel has decided to attack. Wait, what? What the fuck is this? No. Stop sending me all these links. Stop. Jesus Christ. Attack Iran. Calm down, man. Fuck. I didn't even get to this goddamn cute ass Kaya TikTok. I'm going to show this and then we're going to move on. We're going to first talk about a hurricane and the lack of relief and climate change and how it fucking factors in to everything that's going on. Oh my God, I took one fucking day off. I took 1 day off. And now everyone's going crazy. Fuck. 1 day. I take 1 day off. And chat is literally like everything that you wanted to have me react to. As though I'm the only one capable of stopping fucking World War III. You're like, literally read this right now. I'm getting overstimulated. Fuck. It took 45 minutes for me to lose my mind. Okay. I is pooping next to the soccer field. God damn it. I'm so sorry.
Oh my God. That's a lot of poo, Hassan.
Yeah, bro, she's 100 pounds. Anyway, god damn, dude. Yeah, Kaya is Kaya poos where she wants to poo, okay? She don't give a fuck. Oh, y'all are playing soccer over there? Sorry. Y'all are now playing soccer with my poop. That's her behavior. Bro is the substitute teacher that got mad at the class. No, man, it's not the fucking substitute teacher shit. And people do this on purpose, by the way. Like, they do this on purpose. Like, there's people that know I'm like fucking overstimulated and losing my goddamn mind over here because everyone is like spamming links and shit. And when they see that, they're like, oh, it's my opportunity to be fucking annoying and like send even more links. We're going to talk about Hurricane Helene, okay? I haven't been able to talk about it a lot because Israel's been pummeling fucking Lebanon. And obviously foreign policy is important for me. It's a subject matter that I cover quite a bit. But I will say one thing, okay? I find it rather odd. I don't know if I'm like alone in this. I've been talking to some normies about this shit too. There isn't like enough coverage on this. It seems like I do feel as though like the media hasn't even like talked about the devastation as much, which is crazy. Like hundreds of people are fucking dying. Like there is like entire towns are underwater. I feel like this would be leading, you know what I mean? Non-fucking stop.
From Helene spread across the south.
So I can't find any real sources that the USA is deploying troops to combat zones or even off the ships. I can find reporting of the opposite. So though that the USA said they won't enter a war yesterday. Yeah, the Iran thing I think is like fucking bullshit. It's some random person who linked it. I thought it was talking about invading Lebanon. That's why I was reading what that chatter was saying. But when I found out that the chatter sent me a fucking random ass Twitter link that said that Israel's attacking Iran. I was like, shut the fuck up. Stop sending me these dumbass links. Okay. Anyway, but let's get back once again. Let's get back to Hurricane Helene. Okay. Now it's kind of wild because there are a bunch of oh shit. Okay. Oh, hold on. Let me just play this real quick while I set up this interview potentially with Abed.
Yes, North Carolina was hit with flooding it hasn't seen in a century. Some calling it biblical. This is the scene in Asheville, which is now isolated after roads leading into the town flooded and cell towers were knocked down in the storm.
So this is what we know right now. At least 91 people are dead, and that number is expected to rise. And power is out to some 2.1 million customers across that region. We have team coverage of the.
This is some biblical ass shit, bro, which is crazy. It's crazy because people don't seem to recognize that like the once in every fucking 100 years type shit keeps happening every year. Like what happened? I thought this was like a once in a lifetime circumstance, you know? Like this used to happen once every fucking 50 years max. Okay, maybe every 100 years. Now it's every year, brother. Do we just kind of cast this aside? What do we do? Do we just kind of act like it's normal now? This is the thing. I don't really know how to parse through this information. I find it rather odd that like the devastation is so massive. The devastation is so goddamn massive, and the coverage of it is like not up to par. But I don't really know how to match the coverage in general. Like it's never the best kind of analysis to be like, oh, the media's not paying enough attention to this thing, because like they obviously are covering it, but it does kind of shock me how limited the information is. Like I've only seen like TikToks here and there, Twitter links here and there, not a lot of articles. Like if you go to Google News, like here, like there is some Hurricane Helene stuff, okay? But even this morning, it was mostly like Israel. Morning Joe tears into Trump over calling Harris stupid. But this is my own personal briefing. Maybe that's the reason. But I do feel as though like the coverage does not match the devastation. You know what I mean? It almost feels as normalized. It almost feels as normalized as like mass shootings to a certain degree. Because the thing I mean about this is that I'm not saying the media is not covering it at all. Of course it is. But this kind of shit would be like week-long, if not month-long news coverage. Like, a lot of you are younger, so you probably don't recall Katrina. Okay. This is like a yearly event now. It almost feels like we are living in a fucking post-Katrina world where Katrina is a yearly event. And the scale of the devastation is Katrina across multiple territories. And it's like not as big. It doesn't feel like it's as big as a fucking story. Like you had Kanye West on the fucking phone trying to do fundraisers on television when that was happening. That's why he had that famous moment where he's like, George W. Bush doesn't care about black people. Like that's from that. That's how big of a thing that was. And I do think now it's like, it's almost like Sandy Hook normalized mass shootings. And now in that same degree, it just, it holds the attention of people for like maybe a day, maybe 2 days. And then we just fucking move on. I don't know if it's like also because like our attention span is limited. I don't know if it's because I've just been thinking about it a lot. I don't know if it's because of our attention spans that are limited now as a consequence of like TikTok or whatever, but it is kind of weird. And I don't know if it's because like, I'm not saying that this is like a deliberate effort to like normalize. It's like hyper normalization of these kinds of like climate atrocities. I don't think that, but it is strange. It is strange to me that it's like, I mean, it isn't as bad as Katrina that was half of Louisiana's coastline that was destroyed. Asheville is gone, brother. Like Asheville is fucking gone. Asheville, North Carolina is gone. The dam broke. It's over. It's just like fully underwater at this point. It's crazy. I think it is definitely Katrina level. Yeah. Regarding coverage, bridges are rendering entire regions virtually entirely inaccessible by land. There's no power. There's no internet. I'm sure information will be scarce coming out of it from the ground versus being able to get aerial shots. Like this is like apocalyptic levels of destruction, as a chatter put it. And I don't know, man. It's just, it's really fucked up. It is really, really, really fucked up. And one aspect of this story that's really fucked up is that like we are directly causing it with anthropogenic climate change. Okay. As the world heats up more and more, I guess, in the simplest terms, directly as a consequence of our emissions, things that scientists keep saying are going to happen are happening over and over again. And a big chunk of people are just like, nah, I'm different, dog. We're different. It's fine. The only the most significant, most consequential climate change policy that we have seems to be the border policy, like a more military, a more militant border, a more white nativist, more militant border policy is like the only thing that we are setting up for. Like we're not hardening our infrastructure even enough. And half of the entire political field basically denies it's even happening and is like trying to legislate away the mention of it. Like you look at fucking Florida, it's like they're too busy being like, nah, climate change is fake. Like, don't say it. Don't say it's real, please. And it blows my mind. Fango Lives, our EV correspondent, says, easy way to explain climate change makes storms stronger. Global warming makes water warmer. Warmer water has more energy. So storms passing over that water gain more energy from the warmer water, which means there's stronger storms. We've added several billion nuclear bombs worth of energy to the ocean in a couple decades. Yes. That is a good way to explain it. Thank you. Yeah. That's also partially due to climate change migration. No, I know. That's why I'm saying like our border security measures is a climate change infrastructure hardening initiative. It's because there are going to be more and more like people that previously worked in like the agricultural sector that are not going to be able to work. So they're going to migrate as their economy is devastated. They're going to migrate north. They're going to come to America because there's ecological disaster there and they don't have any fucking they don't have any money to even harden their infrastructure nor overcome the damage that climate change is causing in those regions. But what is crazy about this beyond that, I don't know. What's crazy about it is beyond the migration patterns, right? We literally have basically at this point, developing nation levels of infrastructure in the wealthiest nation on the fucking planet, dude. Like, it's wild to me that we just straight up have a situation where half of the political population, half of our government is like, it doesn't exist, so don't do anything about it. The other half is like, it does exist, but we are going to be susceptible to political pressure from the right and from moneyed interests, like in the oil and gas sector. So we're going to keep drilling, baby. We're going to keep fucking fracking, drill, baby, drill, but like, you know, gay version. Okay. And we hear you, we see you, we want to trust the science, but also we're not going to trust the science that much, because as long as it harms the bottom line of like oil and gas giants, then we're going to not trust the science that much, right? Build Back Better wasn't going to solve all this, but Jesus Christ, did Joe Manchin got the shit out of that bill as a Democratic senator? This is insane levels of destruction. Yeah, so you're right about that. And I do think that, like, in a just world, he would be held to count alongside the entirety of the Republican Party, right? How are immigration and disasters of hurricanes correlated? No, you're looking at one aspect of how climate change and the once in a lifetime like weather events like climate change created catastrophes occur in America. But you're failing to consider that when this happens in like Mexico, it's even more devastating. But beyond that, climate change also causes drought in a lot of places, especially in Latin America. Not only do they not have enough money to harden their infrastructure against this sort of thing when this kind of devastation occurs and it completely collapses entire ecologies, but beyond that, you have climate refugees. You have people that can no longer work the land because the land is no longer tenable. So what do? They migrate. They migrate further north. So you have climate refugees, right? You have climate refugees that are like are coming to America because like at least there's still land that you can work on and make money on. So that's how millions of people are displaced, and America knows that like it's gonna happen more and more. It's kind of like the classic Chevron, Exxon Mobil having full knowledge of the carbon emissions causing anthropogenic climate change and global warming in general, and like refusing to do anything about it. And as a matter of fact, having that full knowledge and then only using that knowledge to create PR structures against it so that you can create an environment where like 30 to 40% of the entire fucking nation doesn't even believe it's real, right? That's what they did since the 80s. They were like, oh shit, this is going to be a problem in the future. So let's fucking make sure that it doesn't become a problem for us and our bottom line by creating an entire system in media to just lie to the American public and to say that it's like fucking bullshit. And that is one of the fucking negative consequences of this reality, because you're seeing biblical levels of destruction. Okay, you're watching biblical levels of destruction, and what are some Americans saying about it? How are some people reckoning with this reality? How are some people dealing with this reality? They're dealing with it by fucking blaming like weather machines or something. And it's no different than mass shootings. Okay, here's why it's no different than mass shootings. Mass shootings are not a natural disaster, but we analyze it like it's a natural disaster. Why? Because we are completely captive to corporate interests in that regard. Gun manufacturers make too much fucking money for us to ever actually deal with the gun violence that happens in this country. So in that situation, if you are going to refuse to see the reality of the matter, like at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you're refusing to see that, if you're refusing to reckon with that reality, then you know, you're probably going to get hit with a 3-minute ad break instead of defending yourself against that ad break by subscribing. Last day of September, by the way, for $4 or for free with a Twitch Prime or by getting gifted a sub if you're lucky. Okay, here's a 3-minute ad break now. Anyway, Hurricane Katrina, Category 5 major hurricane, 1,392 fatalities, 135 missing. Hurricane Helene, Category 4 major hurricane, 121 fatalities, 673 missing. So it doesn't seem like it's as bad as Katrina. Dude, it's... what are we doing? Like, it's pretty fucking bad still, dude. That is crazy. And I think it's more than 673 missing, by the way. I think those numbers are incorrect. We don't even know the full numbers at this point, don't we? It's also where the fucking hurricane hit. Like, it's not even the coastline in this situation. It's crazy. Okay, listen. I'm gonna run the 3-minute ad break now, by the way. Listen. You you have to understand something, okay? All jokes aside, 3-minute ad break, blah, blah, blah. What I'm trying to fucking explain here is this, okay? If you are refusing to reckon with the reality in front of you, you are going to look for alternative realities as to why things are happening. And that's why there are so many conspiratorial psychopaths out there, okay? That's my point. My point is, there are so many fucking conspiracy-brained losers out there because they've been duped into refusing to acknowledge what the truth is, okay? We're so far removed from that. And it's the same principle behind gun violence as well, which we also analyze like it's a fucking naturally occurring phenomenon. We're like, oh, do not look to the actual problem, which is guns, okay? Mass arsenal of weapons that are readily available to the public. More guns than there are people, but God forbid you fucking analyze it with the actual root cause of the fucking problem. No, we got to desperately cling on to anything and else, anything and everything we can. Oh, it's got to be door control. We got to fucking give more guns to the teachers. We got to do this. We got to do that. And that's why so many people at this point, now that they've exhausted all other options, whenever fucking mass shootings occur, they now go, oh, it's because the shooter is trans. I've imagined that the shooter is trans and trans people are doing these mass shootings. Or, this is a psyop. This is a government psyop. They actually are doing this because they want to fucking do gun control, which never happens, by the way. Worst, shittiest psyop of all time, right? So that's it. That's why people hyper focus on like insane shit. This happened in Hawaii too. Oh, it must be like space lasers that did the fucking fires. It cannot be that the brush is just simply drier than it has ever been. It cannot be like full-blown ecological collapse that caused massive wildfires. It's got to be fucking space lasers. Look at the blue cars. The blue cars didn't light on fire. Like, we are purposely making our population dumber and dumber and dumber because it's like easier to control and manipulate in some ways, but also simultaneously, this is not tenable. This is not sustainable, okay? I don't know how else to describe it. And shit is fucked up. It's so fucked up. It's so fucked up in every way, shape, and form. Like the way we analyze the situation is so messed up. Here, this is a Matt Christman quote that it talks about it, okay? These guys that marched in Charlottesville, these are the people who are aware of the unspoken premise of this sort of zombie neoliberalism that we're living in, which is that we're coming to a point where there's going to be ecological catastrophe and that it's going to require either massive redistribution of the ill-gotten gains of the first world or genocide. And these are the first people who have basically said, well, if that's the choice, then I choose genocide. And they're getting everyone else ready intellectually and emotionally for why that's going to be okay when it happens, why they are not really people. When we're putting all this money into more fucking walls and drones and bombs and guns to keep them away so that we can watch them die with clear consciences, it's because we have been loaded with the ideology that these guys are now starting to express publicly. On the other side of them, we have people who are saying in full fucking voice, no, we have the resource to save everybody, to give everybody a decent and worthwhile existence, and that is what we want. And that is the fucking real difference between these two. And you can tell that to the next asshole who tells you that they're actually two sides of the same coin. We are the people who say we have the money, we have the capacity, we have a surplus of food. We are the people who can save everybody else. We just choose not to. And the problem with neoliberalism and the problem with like the Democratic Party's capitulation to right-wing framing on issues is that they are also slaves of the same master, the master of capital. Okay, they are still deeply, they have a deeply vested interest in maintaining this corporate oligopoly, this corporate oligarchy. So they have to make some messages, like messaging differences between the Republican Party. But ultimately, that's why every fucking 4 years you see them bouldering towards more and more right-wing framing on these issues. Now, I want to dive into this a little bit further. I want to talk about this a little bit more. In this past month alone, there have been so many issues that that a competent Democratic Party would literally be messaging around over and over again to a degree where this would not even be a fucking close race at all. We had a mass shooting. That's a gun control issue. The Democrats could have messaged around it. We forgot about the fucking mass shooting already. Like it literally happened like what, a month ago, 2 months ago? Okay, nothing. No competent fucking conversation, no competent Democratic leadership on that front at all. Okay. What do? We're still, we're like, yeah, guns are bad. We move on. Okay. A mass shooting happened and the Democrats didn't even message around it. Okay. Another thing, Republicans insanely right-wing framing on immigration. They went so above and beyond that it was gross to the average person. As I told you, this would happen with the Haitians are eating dogs and cats nonsense. Okay. That's another issue that the Republicans have completely gotten out of control on with their messaging. A competent Democratic Party should have made mincemeat out of that. Okay. A competent counterbalance to that kind of unrestricted fascist communication is supposed to sit there and say, do you hear what this fucking person is saying? They're saying your neighbors are eating cats and dogs. They're doing like unrestricted, unfettered racism. Okay. White supremacy through and fucking through. Nothing. No statements whatsoever to the humanity of these fucking Haitian migrants that are literally not even undocumented. They are documented. They are documented immigrants. And their status, these guys on the right want to revoke. They want to take that away. Okay? So that's another one. And last but not least, or two other issues, okay? Foreign policy. Neocon foreign policy back in the day was supposed to be the Republicans that pushed, more war, more devastation, more destruction, more money to the fucking military. Okay? Israel has expanded on its NSEG and is now doing to Lebanon what it was doing to Gaza. Nothing from the Democratic Party except for full-blown unconditional fucking support to Israel. Okay? And last but not least, now we also have ecological disasters as a direct consequence of climate change. And the counterbalance to the Republican Party is also running the drill, baby, drill attitude. Think about that. Those are four key issues, domestic policy and foreign policy, four key fucking issues that the Democrats are supposed to literally be on the opposing side on. And yet when you look at their fucking policy prescriptions, their answers are no different than the Republican Party. Their answers are like maybe lighter, maybe a little bit more understanding. This is a terrifying prospect for the future of the United States of America. Okay? Their key issues to a crazy left person. Yeah, dude. The entire town of Asheville, North Carolina is underwater. And that's just a key issue to a crazy left person. Ugh. A crazy left person. If you have to be a crazy left person to be like, hey, I find it unconscionable that our key ally in the Middle East is like pummeling every fucking country in the region with American-made bombs, with American tax dollars that could be going elsewhere to, I don't know, maybe harden your infrastructure ahead of time because you know fucking ecological disaster is imminent. I don't know. I don't know what to say about like the average opinion of the average person then. Or these are key issues to a crazy left person. Key issues such as not fucking going on a national stage and greatly accelerating the right-wing framing, the white nativist framing built on top of a house of lies, okay? Built on it's not even shaky foundation, okay? It's not a shaky foundation. It's just abject lies, right? Like the idea that undocumented migrants are responsible for more crime than natural-born U.S. citizens. That's not correct. It's just incorrect. These aren't even undocumented immigrants, by the way. These are documented immigrants, too. But they are being treated as though they are undocumented. Meanwhile, this is the lib talking point, by the way. Anyone that's upset about Biden and Harris's response are getting hit with not their fault. They offered aid to then say should have voted better. Yeah, that's insane, man. That's insane. Believing that climate change is real when like multiple towns are completely fucking underwater is such a psychotic way of looking at the situation. I don't even know how to deal with it. And that is how we arrive at the viral tweet blaming the flooding in North Carolina on government weather manipulation. Okay? Because you are desperately avoiding the truth. You don't want to fucking see the truth. You don't want to see the truth of the matter. You don't want to listen to scientists. You think scientists are gay and lame and lying to you. And when that happens, Of course you're going to find yourself in the throes of like fucking insanity like this. Easy way to understand immigration and global warming. A single immigrant brings his body temperature to the U.S., therefore making the whole land of the U.S. warmer, more energy, and therefore making... Okay, stop joking right now. Come on. Yeah, I saw this fucking... I saw this as well. FEMA said last week it faces nearly $9 billion of shortfall for Hurricane Helene recovery efforts. On the same day, Israel announced an $8.7 billion weapons package from the U.S. Our tax dollars are funding Israeli war crimes instead of the investments we desperately need here. Can't do it. Can't get Congress to do it. You just can't do it, you know? Meanwhile, here's another fuck you to the police, by the way, because every single thing I talk about, the intersectionality of that violence is in full display right here. The intersectionality of misinformation, the intersectionality of that violence, all of the systems that we exist under that are openly being like, fuck you, die, you fucking poor. Police guarding grocery stores while folks are denied the opportunity to purchase baby formula after losing everything is pretty indicative of where we are as a country. Okay? Not letting people into the fucking grocery store. That's what they're using their fucking funds on. Great stuff, man. That's what we're using our local funds on. So why didn't you stock up? Why didn't anyone stock up? The store has to follow procedure from the people like you from buying everything up and then suing the store because they bought bad product. Like, there are people immediately being like, nah. Oh, this guy blocked me. But let's see what he's had to say. Matt Wallace. Don't worry, guys. Weather modification isn't real. It's just a coincidence that Hurricane Helene is one of the most devastating inland damage storms in history, and that hundreds of pro-Trump counties are massively being impacted during those most important elections of our lifetimes. Yeah, obviously the elites would never be evil enough to create hurricanes designed to interfere with democracy. Pay no attention to the storms. 30,000 likes. We're done. We're done. We're done. You cannot come back from this, I think. How the fuck are you living in a goddamn mountain and expected for your entire fucking house to flood, entire town to flood? It is perfectly understandable. Here's reporting from Asheville, North Carolina from April 2002 or 2022. Okay, let's take a look about how Asheville was presented as a escape from severe climate change impact.
When it comes to climate, the mountains have always been an attractive place to live, and now even more so with climate change making severe weather events even worse elsewhere. Climate change leading to climate migration.
Weather events are becoming crazy all over the world, and there's places where they're less crazy. Asheville's fortunate to be one of those places.
Now more people taking refuge in the temperate mountains of western North Carolina. This real estate broker saying he's hearing that climate is a big reason why people are moving here.
I think people have noticed and are moving here to escape wildfires, to escape floods, to escape hurricanes, to escape droughts.
Scott Shuford is a local expert in community planning and resilience.
Our big three issues of climate change affecting North Carolina are sea level rise, which clearly we're not having a problem with that, but also heavy precipitation and periods of drought.
He says those don't affect us in Asheville as much since we're far from the coast, have the North Fork Reservoir for our water supply, and the elevation to keep our temperatures mild. Not immune to climate change, of course, just less susceptible. And he doesn't think we're anywhere near the peak of climate migration.
Bro, a random Kenyan farmer has been noticing that his goats are walking further and further for water year over year, and he understands this is a direct result of climate change. How do the hogs not understand this? I think it's understandable for most people to not recognize this because we don't have a direct relationship with the fucking nature. We don't have a direct relationship with the meat that we are consuming. We do not have that direct relationship with nature at all by design. So, of course, people don't notice these differences year over year. And as I explained already, there's a multi-billion-dollar initiative. There is a multi-billion-dollar initiative to also make people dumber and dumber and refuse to reckon with the reality because the reality harms capital interests. The reality harms the bottom line of the oil and gas industry. Okay? The entire world runs on fossil fuels. That's it. Yeah, it's the breaking down of the social connections of consumption caused by capitalism. A dude wrote a whole book about this. Yeah, he did. Like things that you would previously consider insane that, your fellow Americans would believe are now becoming more and more commonplace. Do you not notice that? And if you do notice that, do you not see that as a major problem? Because I certainly do. I definitely do. I find it damaging to public discourse in general. I find it terrifying that more and more people are just like literally desperately clinging on to whatever the fuck they can, desperately clinging on to whatever kind of fucking misinformation they can because of our abject powerlessness in the face of these systems that are churning out these results no matter what you say and do. You know, where will we go from here?
Storm's aftermath. We start in Asheville with Faith Abube. Good morning, Faith.
Yeah, good morning to you, Robin. It's been days without power, cell phone service, or safe drinking water for so many people here in western North Carolina. Right now, we're in historic Biltmore Village, a popular shopping and dining enclave here in Asheville, which was submerged in water. There's debris all over the place and a muddy mess left behind. This stretches for miles and miles. One official calling the damage biblical devastation.
This morning, the death toll climbing after Helene barreled through the southeast. The massive storm killing more than 91 people from Florida to Virginia. In Buncombe County, North Carolina, our affiliate WSOC capturing the scope of the damage from above. At least 30 people declared dead, dozens more unaccounted for.
These response teams are working around the clock to make rescues, to access neighborhoods.
The extreme floods washing away homes and bridges. At one point, North Carolina DOT forced to close more than 400 roads, deeming them unsafe for travel. Members of the National Guard and relief teams from 19 states joining the search and rescue missions.
This is
the weather modification conspiracies are not new. They have escaped Twitter for a very long time. I know. The problem is, I think more and more people now believe it. That's the issue. It's getting way more broader play, in my opinion. Now, I have no data to back this up. It just feels that way, and maybe I'm wrong. But yes, they have existed for quite a while. But like things that were relegated to the Alex Jones like ham radio broadcasts are now being publicized by like many different independent media outlets that have broad reach that previously, like, a lot of this reach was stunted in the past. Okay, you had to like have a fucking ham radio broadcast, exactly know when to tune in. You had to be really invested in the conspiracy theories. Now you can just like accidentally reach them online on your fucking TikTok feed. You can accidentally reach them and be duped by them online on your YouTube feed, on your Twitter feed if you're on Twitter. Like things that used to be limited to like obscure forums and AM radio broadcasts in the past are now broadly at the forefront of not mainstream media necessarily, but at least like the only other massive, very impactful way of getting information. It's just like everywhere online, everywhere.
unprecedented tragedy that requires an unprecedented response.
In Asheville, many residents growing desperate, cell service and potable water out for days.
This is apocalyptic, not just for Canton, but the entire region.
And Canton Mayor Zeb Smathers telling ABC News it's nearly impossible to reach emergency management due to the cell service outage.
To see our cell phones completely black out and not have the ability to allow people on their own accord to check on their loved ones or say, hey, look, you live near water, please leave.
Hurricane Helene rapidly.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's so inconsiderate when climate protesters block roads. It's just like, or it's so inconsiderate when, climate. I'm glad that we're like fucking arresting the only people that are like, hey guys, you should pay attention to this because it's gonna fucking kill you one day. Yeah. Meanwhile, here's a major contributor to this, by the way. It's actually crazy how quickly we went from people saying Jack Dorsey brought a liberal bias to Twitter to whatever this is, and we hear nothing about it. Okay? Jack Dorsey never in a fucking million years behaved in this outwardly liberal of a fashion. Okay? In the way that Elon Musk very openly communicates like the most unfiltered, unrestricted, right-wing, far-right, sometimes neo-Nazi sentiment. And it's odd, don't you think? It's odd that, we always suspect that there is a liberal bias, but when there is an overt right-wing bias, nobody even talks about it. It's like, what are you supposed to do? There's nothing you could do about it either. Nuremberg style trials for the oil and gas executives. Brother, there is a lot of people right now that deserve Nuremberg style trials. Not just the oil and gas executives. When we're talking about this hurricane, yes. But then there's also the Nuremberg style trials for all of those who are in defense of Israel's literally Nuremberg inducing actions, you know, Fourth Reich style shit in the region, in the Middle East. Yeah, Elon Musk was even saying, the craziest part about Elon Musk is that he was propped up as this like billionaire Tony Stark style guy by liberals. Okay. This supposed billionaire Tony Stark, who's going to save the fucking world. He's going to send us to Mars or whatever. And he's going to save the fucking planet from climate change, right? He's got EVs. His brother's got a solar panel company. And it's, and it's crazy because he was having a conversation with Donald Trump. And even then he was like repeating fucking climate misinformation. Elon was saying climate change disinfo during that Trump interview even, and that's supposed to be the one non-idiotic position he holds. Yes. And in 2017, he quit that Trump White House council over climate change, and now he's talking to the dude and talking nonsense about climate change, saying we don't have to worry until we reach 1,000 ppm. Yeah, he said climate change won't be a problem until the air catches on fire. Like, it was great, man. Yeah, until you get headaches from breathing the air, it won't be an issue. Guys. Yeah, the permafrost melting is funny. It's no longer so perma, the frost. It turns out it's tempafrost. Oh my God, they're going to change permafrost to tempafrost and be like, oh, it was always, it was never supposed to be permafrost, dude. What do you mean? It's just tempafrost. You're stupid, fucking silly ass libtard. It's just it's actually tempafrost. Anyway, that new age frost don't last as long as it used to due to woke. 90K people live in just Asheville, and there's no hope they will recover what is minimally necessary before winter. In the mountains, it gets really cold. They got snowstorms. I live in South Carolina. I'm terrified of the upstate and western North Carolina. We aren't well-funded states. Yeah. Ice is supposed to melt, stupid. Put some ice in your goddamn glass and watch what happens to it. Duh. You're just a silly libtard and you're woke. I'm always reminded of that one fucking congressperson who brought a fucking snowball into Congress to be like, oh, see, there's still snow. You guys are stupid. Or tide comes in, tide goes out.
Intensifying in less than 12 hours, making landfall in Florida's Big Bend as a Category 4 storm late Thursday night with 140-mile-per-hour winds. Western North Carolina rattled with a separate rain system just before Helene crossed the border, dumping up to 30 inches of rain in parts of the state, triggering extreme and deadly flash floods and landslides. This home in Marshall swept away in this river. In Lake Lure, homes splintered and reduced to rubble. Boats and docks piling up, towns turned into lakes, submerged underwater.
When you turn the corner and you see your community just full of buildings and trash and floating boathouses and floating homes, it just sort of takes your breath away, and it was scary.
Yeah, I mean, this is
go to church and you get on your knees and you pray to an
Correct.
invisible man in the sky.
Invisible
and you
man
don't
in the
think
sky.
That's a scam.
No, I don't.
You look
know,
at a
and I'll tell you
statue
why.
of a man that was built by a man.
I'll tell you why it's not a scam, in my opinion. All right, tide goes in, tide goes out. Never a miscommunication. You can't explain that. You can explain why the tide goes in.
Tide goes in, tide goes out.
See, the water, the tide comes in and it goes out, Mr. Silverman.
Maybe
it always
it's
comes
Thor
in
on top of Mount
goes
Olympus
out.
who's making the tides go in and out.
No, but you can't explain.
Can't explain it. Can't do it. All of you silly, woke ass motherfuckers are going to talk about the moon. That's not real, dumbass. It's just cheese up there. And we never went there. So shut the fuck up. Everyone's talking about moon. That's not real. Excuse me. The moon. These guys think the moon is real. It's called a light bulb, okay? How else could you see at night? They turn it on at NASA every night. Everybody knows that. Silly. It's crazy because it's like, I'm going to cry. We joke, but like, that is slowly but surely becoming the normal position, man. Like, That's becoming the normal position.
Roads sliced in half, cutting residents off from critical help.
There's probably 50 trees blocking my neighbor from coming out. I started helping them yesterday. The neighbors at the other end of the road, we got us out, but the other neighbors are trapped.
The Painter family telling us they returned home to 35,000 gallons of water in their basement and their home caked in mud.
Pee.
It's eerie. I had a pit in the bottom of my stomach the whole time.
We're stepping on mud and trying not to fall because it's so thick and slippery.
Authorities confirming 2 people died in Tennessee. That number expected to climb. Unicoi County officials say more than 70 people are still unaccounted for, including Steve Cloyd. Overnight, his family telling GMA they found his Jeep and hope he was able to climb out and survive.
That is the hope. I need that big one now so I can breathe again, so my kids can breathe again. His Minnesota Vikings won today. So I want to sit here and watch those highlights with him.
It's just so heartbreaking, George. This morning, there are still hundreds of roads here in western North Carolina that are still closed, including this one here, which means a lot of people are cut off from critical supplies. The roads are either still flooded, washed away, or unsafe in one way or another. And also, there are parts like this one where it's so muddy, slippery, and dangerous that it's unsafe to even walk around. George?
Well, rescue and recovery are going to take some time. Okay, Faith, thanks very much.
Good morning. To state the obvious, over the weekend, with devastating storms in the south. I spoke for a couple hours with leaders yesterday affected by this hurricane, and Governor Kemp of Georgia, Governor Cooper of North Carolina, county officials in the Big Bend region of Florida, and other leaders in South Carolina and Tennessee about the broad and devastating impacts of Hurricane Helene. It's not just a catastrophic storm, it's a historic, history-making storm. The entire southeast and Appalachia. Range from the hurricane stretches across at least 10 states. Winds over 120 miles an hour in some places. Storm surges up to 15 feet and record flooding. Communities are devastated. Loved ones waiting, not sure if their loved ones are okay, and they can't contact them because there's no cell phone connections. Many more folks displaced with no idea when they'll be able to be returned to their home, if ever, if there's a home to return to. We're keeping them all in our prayers and all the lives lost. And those thinking.
Listen, Jack, we're gonna give another $11 billion to Israel. If you fucking think that that's a problem, well, then take it up with all right, look alive. A lot of people talked about the FEMA budget shortfall. Well, to me, I say that's where the anti-Semitism breeds.
Unaccounted for. There's nothing like wondering, is my husband, wife, son, daughter, mother, father alive? And many more who remain without electricity, water, food, and communications.
Yeah, bro, look, didn't realize how many folks have no idea where Asheville and these other underwater towns are. I'm in Raleigh, 2 hours inland. Asheville is 4 hours west of me, up in the Blue Ridge Mountains. It was unthinkable that a hurricane could wipe out towns this far inland and high up. That's nutty, man. That's nutty. Climate denier takedown. Funny thing happened as the WAPO tried to map out 500 million years of global temperatures and the disaster of global warming. Hi, I labeled this so the world's dumbest people would get it. Temperature is low enough for humans to evolve. Fastest temperature increase in 485 million years. From Stinky, our resident meteorology chatter. Water in the Gulf has been exceptionally warm, 2 to 4 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. There have been 8 Category 4 or 5 hurricanes to make landfall in U.S. soil in the past 8 years. This is as many as the past 57 years of record. Sea levels in Florida is 8 inches higher than it was in 1950. This means higher storm surges. Thank you, Stinky19, for the information. My response to that is I don't believe you, okay? Guess what, dude? Dinosaurs, I think. I don't know. Depending on the conversation that we're having, I won't even believe that they were alive. They were alive 6,000 years ago alongside Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Yeah. Don't worry about it. God will sort it out is also such a, like, devastatingly... It's a devastatingly tragic comedy almost. The irony in that statement. Because, you know, God is sorting it out. It's just killing people then. All right? GG's, I guess.
Homes and businesses have washed away in an instant. I want them to know we're not leaving until the job is done. I also want you to know I'm committed to traveling to the impacted areas as soon as possible, but I've been told that it would be disruptive if I did it right now. We will not do that at the risk of diverting or delaying any of the response assets needed to deal with this crisis. My first responsibility is to get all the help needed to those impacted areas.
Have you considered a plant-based diet to help do your part? Thanks, man. No, I haven't. Okay, I have not.
I expect to.
That's crazy. Vegans, please, dude. Vegans. Even if we are talking about the enforcement of such a thing, you have to understand this has to be done at the systemic level, okay? Please. Like, what you're describing is some of the most, like, scary aspects of government control that don't even exist in the Green New Deal that Republicans point to on a regular fucking basis. And even then, it needs to still be enforced by the government, okay? There is no world in which, like, you are individually going to fix this problem. It's just not going to happen. Bro, even mine's like, just don't eat as much cow to help mitigate your climate effect. I don't. But that doesn't change. It's not going to move the needle at all, okay? Oh, unless the government moves in the direction of not subsidizing our agricultural production as much in an effort to make it so that people eat less and less meat, it's just not going to change. And also, you're talking to a chicken genocider anyway. I rarely ever eat beef. Rarely.
To be there. Excuse me, I have a cold. Expect to be there later this week. I and my team are in constant contact with the governors, mayors, and local leaders. The head of FEMA, Deanne Griswold, is on the ground now in North Carolina. She's going to stay in Asheville and Appalachia region for the foreseeable future. There's been reports of over 100 dead and consequence of this storm, and there are reports of up to 600 people unaccounted for because they can't be contacted.
Really? Don't you consider the more invasive parts of government outreach the potential limits on free speech on social platforms? Wait, what? I'm still leftist and will advocate for governments who do this sort of stuff, but it's only part I'm worried about due to some personal reasons. What? I don't know what you mean by social media outreach. I don't know how we're going to fix this, but I don't think limiting information is the solution to this problem. But I do think hardening our underlying educational infrastructure is the solution to this problem. But we're not fucking doing that either. Like, the way I explain it is like this. I like Alex Jones as an entertainer. I can consume Alex Jones content as an entertaining figure, right? Oh, I thought you were talking about social platform, like free speech restrictions on social platform. I don't know what you mean about like meat consumption. When I say the government needs to deal with that, this has to be dealt with at the systemic level. I'm talking about subsidies to meat providers and like limiting the amount of meat that we are creating, like limiting our agricultural output, or putting additional regulatory checks on the ways in which agricultural production works in this country. But that is like one of the scariest aspects of this process to begin with. Since you said it was the scarier part for you regarding government reach, sorry for confusing you, lol. But in terms of like social media communication, I don't know what you mean by that. Hassan is not a moral person. He admits veganism is the moral responsibility. Do not get your ethics from him. Just learn politics. Yeah, I mean, I know that I don't have issues. I'm a speciesist, and I do not have issues with animal meat consumption. This conversation is getting so far off base now. God damn it, vegans. You represent, what, 2% of the fucking community, and you literally, just stop. Just please stop.
God willing, they're alive, but there's no way to contact them again because of the lack of cell phone coverage. I've directed my team to provide every available resource as fast as possible to your communities to rescue, recover, and to begin rebuilding. In addition to FEMA, includes the Federal Communications Commission to help establish communications capability, the National Guard, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the Department of Defense are going to provide all the resources at its disposal to rescue and assist in clearing debris. And
what were we going to say about social media, Alex Jones? Oh, what I was saying is like, I am at least like well educated enough to know what Alex Jones is saying is fucking cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So from that position, I can enjoy his commentary purely as entertainment, like as a crazy person. But unfortunately, given the lack of education for many Americans, and given the way that it currently works in the United States of America, there are plenty of people who do believe everything he's saying and don't just treat it as like entertainment. Okay. So in that situation, I don't know what to do. You know, I don't know what to do. Education doesn't fix stupidity. It makes it a lot harder. It makes it a lot harder for stupidity to thrive. It's like saying, oh, well, healthcare is not going to fucking make less Nazis. You're wrong. It will. Okay? Free healthcare will absolutely play a formative role in at least taking away a significant pressure valve from people's existences that causes economic volatility, that causes instability in their lives, that causes a fucking pressure point where they just like look for answers and will become duped by right-wing sentiment. Anyway.
Delivering life-saving supplies. So far, that's over.
Nazis exist in places with healthcare. I know, but oh my god. The point is, you're never going to full-blown solve this issue. Okay, there's rich people who are fucking Nazis too. Look at Harlan Crow. Okay, my point is, it's about limiting the impact, limiting the spread of dangerous ideology. Okay, that's the point. That's the goal. That's what we should be working towards. Okay.
1,600 personnel deployed. That number is growing by the day. I quickly approved requests from governors of Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Virginia, and Alabama for an emergency declaration. And I approved additional requests for the governors of North Carolina, Florida, South Carolina, and for a disaster declaration to pay for debris removal, provide financial assistance directly to survivors. FEMA and the Small Business Administration are there to help the residents whose homes and businesses were literally destroyed, washed away, or blown away. And the federal search and rescue teams have been working side by side with state and local officials and partners in very treacherous conditions to find those who are missing. And they'll not rest until everyone's accounted for. I want to thank all the first responders and everyone who's been working around the clock.
I don't know if it's intentional or not, but some chatters completely misunderstand or just choose to not hear what you're saying in order to score some sort of gotcha on the streamer. Yeah, it's because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break, and that's my biggest gotcha for like 30,000 people in here. And they probably develop a little bit of resentment. Maybe they have a little bit of anxiety at the top of the hour because they know it's coming. They feel it in their heart and get worried. That chatter came to you with good intentions and you use them for a segue? Yes, because I'm a bad person. Next question. Anyway, you might be wondering, Hassan, how do I harden my security against the top of the hour ad break that's 3 minutes long? I want an uninterrupted broadcast experience. The answer is simple. For $4, you can avoid the top of the hour ad breaks by subscribing. Or if you don't have $4 for free, you can do that by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account where you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. You can also get gifted a sub. Orbital Pyramid, thank you for the 5 tier 1 gifted subs. Or if you gift a sub, Twitch also, I think, gives a sub as well. I don't know if they're still doing that. Maybe they're not anymore. It's the last day of September. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Missing belt loop? What are you saying? I'm not. Why are people saying missing belt loop? You have to give 5 subs minimum for Twitch to give a random sub amount? Oh, yeah. Suspiciously, the random sub amount that Twitch is giving is 1 every time.
One of the brave teams was volunteer.
They're cock watching. That's why they're looking at the fucking. Anyway, Justin, thank you for the 5. Syntaxer, thank you for the 5 gifted.
Here to be there from San Diego County Fire Department, set to travel all the way from California to North Carolina to help. But on their way, they were in a terrible car accident in Louisiana. We pray for their full recovery, but it was a bad accident. We know there's more to do, and we'll continue to surge resources, including food, water, communications, and life-saving equipment. We'll be there, as I said before, and I mean it, as long as it takes to finish this job. Let me close with this. As president, I've seen firsthand the devastating toll that disasters like this take on families and communities. I've been on the ground in many disaster areas since I've been president. Excuse me, and I've heard dozens of stories from survivors about how it feels to be left with nothing, not even knowing where or when to get back on track. I'm here to tell every single survivor in these impacted areas that we will be there with you as long as it takes. For the sake of yourselves, and your families, I urge everyone returning to their communities and home to listen to the local officials and follow all safety instructions.
He's dying, bro.
Take this seriously, please.
He's dying, bro. He's dying, Brody. He's
safe. Your nation has your back, and the Biden-Harris administration will be there until the job is done. God bless you all, and I'm thinking of those that are still wondering where your loved ones are. Thank you. Say again?
Will you need to ask Congress for a supplemental?
That's my expectation, yes.
You know, roughly.
Not yet. This is a historic storm. It's devastating. They've never seen anything like this before. And some of them are back-to-back, 3 storms in a row. So it's really, really devastating.
Would you consider asking Congress to come back for a special session?
That is something I may have to request, but no decision has been made yet.
Do you have a sense of where you'll go when you are able to go, sir?
Yes, I told the governor of North Carolina I'd go down, and I expect to be down there by Wednesday or Thursday. It would be clear for me to go. You guys have traveled with me. You know, there's an entourage. This can be disruptive.
Is there a mistake for President Trump to be down there today in Georgia? Is that disruptive?
I don't have any idea.
On another issue,
This was wild too when Biden was asked any comments on the strikes in Yemen. Okay, we're gonna move on to the best part of the Brandon policy, of course, foreign policy. Okay, but before then, here it is. Do you have any words for the victims? We've given everything that we have.
Yes, it's tragic. As a matter of fact, we're trying to get the exact number. My FEMA advisor is on the ground in Florida right now. There's a distinction between the numbers that FEMA's used and the ones that are used by the locals. So it really is amazing. You saw the photographs. It's stunning.
It's unbelievable. But
it really is.
Such a wide area.
And we've given them all everything that we have. We're on the ground ahead of time, so we're working hard.
Are there any more resources the federal government could be giving them?
No, we've given them. We have pre-planned a significant amount of it, even though they didn't ask for it yet. Hadn't asked for it yet.
Do you have any words for the victims?
Anyway, do you think he stepped down because he actually has a terminal illness? No, dude. I don't think so. I think he stepped down because he saw the fucking poll numbers. We're gonna move on to Israel in a second because Israel is doing some Israel shit again. Here is Ta-Nehisi Coates' new book, The Message, where he talks quite a bit about re-examining his relationship and America's relationship with Israel and the media's relationship to defending Israel, no matter how atrocious its actions may be.
Our next guest is the acclaimed New York Times best-selling author Ta-Nehisi Coates. His new book, The Message, is a trio of interconnected essays that examine how the stories we tell or avoid telling can shape and even distort our reality. In the book, Coates reflects on his emotional first trip to Africa to visit Dakar, Senegal. Then he takes readers to Columbia, South Carolina, where he reports on the attempted banning of one of his books on race. And finally, Coates travels to the Middle East to witness the Israeli-Palestinian conflict firsthand. Ta-Nehisi Coates, good morning. How you doing?
Thanks for having me. Good morning, guys.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. You say that this book is written specifically for writers, stating that the task for young writers should be nothing less than changing the world. Why do you feel like writers should bear that responsibility?
Saving the world. Saving the world.
world.
Just to be really specific. Writing is how we interpret so much of everything that is around us. The Message is a political book. It argues that much of our politics actually happens before we walk into a voting booth, that our choices around us, that who we believe is human, who we don't believe is human, what policies we believe should be in the world, which policies we don't, are actually shaped largely by writing and the stories we tell. And so I believe that writers, and particularly young writers, have so much to do in the politics and in this time when, you know, obviously we have so much conflict and there's so many quote-unquote issues to be dealt with.
Ta-Nehisi, I want to dive into the Israel-Palestine section of the book. It's the largest section of the book. And I have to say, when I read the book, I imagine if I took your name out of it, took away the awards and the acclaim, took the cover off the book, the publishing house goes away, the content of that section would not be out of place in the backpack of an extremist. And so that.
Wow, that's interesting. That's a interesting approach to like Barack Obama's favorite writer. You know, I like that. I like that we are, you know, I like that we're otherizing and making a mockery at this point of Ta-Nehisi Coates. It's like if Brett fucking Stevens was like, Israel has done too much, we got to dial it back, which he has like approached a little bit. These motherfuckers would be like, well, you're a bit of a terrorist, aren't you? You sound a little bit of a, you sound a little bit like a fucking terrorist, don't you? It's so obvious, dude. It is like the moment that you step even a little bit, outside of the boundaries of what is permissible in liberal media, regardless of your background, regardless of all of the time and effort that you've placed in rising through the ranks of this ecosystem, the moment that you step outside of it, they're like, well, you're an enemy, you know? Ta-Nehisi, I'd like to ask you, why are you the biggest anti-Semite? Perhaps an even bigger anti-Semite than Adolf himself, for saying what Israel is doing is unconscionable and an apartheid, which is a position that virtually every NGO and many other international organs of justice also agree with. Why are all of you guys Hitler, actually? We are not. Don't ever say that I am Hitler for defending, the modern version of Adolf Hitler. But why are you actually Hitler?
Then I found myself wondering, why does Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I've known for a long time, read his work for a long time, very talented, smart guy, leave out so much? Why leave out that Israel is surrounded by countries that want to eliminate it? Why leave out that Israel deals with...
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, why would you leave that out? Why would you not talk about Israel's justifications for wanton bloodshed? I don't understand. In your book, where you are criticizing Israel's policies, why don't you justify said policies? You've left out why Israel must maintain an apartheid while calling it an apartheid.
Terror groups that want to eliminate it. Why not detail anything of the first and the second intifada, the cafe bombings, the bus bombings, the little kids blown to bits?
Look at this unhinged shit. Robert Jenrick says Star of David should be displayed at every point of entry in the UK. Tory leadership frontrunner addressed conservative friends at Israel event in hoodie emblazoned with words Hamas or terrorists. Dude, I don't think these guys understand that this is literally like, dog, are you like straight up trying to make every fucking normal person into like the biggest anti-Semite? Because this is going to be the consequence of that, okay? Can you imagine? Dude, there's already so much underlying anti-Semitism that's just like out there, okay? These motherfuckers literally are just like, let's create and design a society where everyone, even through symbolism, literally look to everything and go, okay, I guess Jews do control everything, okay? And it's always Christian motherfuckers that do this shit. It is crazy. It is fucking nutty, dude. It's wild. I'm telling you, dude, these people do not even think, like, these people are not thinking like even one step ahead, okay? Not even two steps, just not even one step ahead. Like, how do you think this would work? First of all, it's the underlying premise here is also idiotic. Like, oh, the Star of David will somehow make Islamic extremism perish, like as though Muslims are going to see the Star of David and erupt in flames or something. Okay, it just doesn't. Oh, like, same guy outrages. Jenrick says people shouting Allahu Akbar on London Street should be arrested immediately. I genuinely don't understand how these people don't recognize that, like, doing that would literally lead so many more people into being like, oh, I guess Jews do control everything. What the fuck? Like, it's crazy. This is what I keep repeating. Like, the entire defense mechanism of like Israel's actions being married to Judaism falsely, okay? And the way that it portrays itself, the way that like Western media has like reiterated this position over and over for many years, especially when people were completely unknowledgeable and were delusional almost, or not delusional, but deluded to the actions of Israel was, that was a successful strategy. It's no longer a successful strategy when people are like, no, dog, this shit sucks. We see what's going on and I don't like it. You know what I mean? If in that situation, you got to change course. If you keep doing this whole like, no, you don't understand, actually, Israel's the only Jewish nation. It's the Jewish nation. It has to exist. It has to do all this violent shit. And it's doing it for Judaism. And if you think that like violence is unacceptable, then you're a Jew hater. You're going to cause people to be like, okay, I guess I am.
And is it because you just don't believe that Israel, in any condition, has a right to exist?
Well, I would say the perspective that you just outlined, there is no shortage of that perspective in American media. That's the first thing I would say. I am most concerned always with those who don't have a voice, with those who don't have the...
By the way, this is literally at the heart of my commentary. I'm so glad that Ta-Nehisi Coates is saying this. When people come in here and they're like Hassan Nasrallah, right? People will come in here and be like, Hassan Nasrallah was a violent, ISIS-style psychopath. He's an Islamist fundamentalist. Everybody hated him in the region. And it's like, listen, dog, his actions in the Hezbollah's actions in Syria, which ironically was against ISIS, but that's besides the point. His actions in Syria were definitely violent, definitely unacceptable. The Hezbollah actions in Syria, okay? But that's not why they fucking killed him, okay? And they didn't kill him because he was homophobic. If you think that, you are a fucking sucker, okay? You have been deluded. He got killed because he was a part of the resistance structure and a mechanism of deterrence against Israel. That's why they killed him, okay? They didn't kill him because he was homophobic. We're not killing homophobic leaders, okay? You're whitewashing Hezbollah crimes in Syria? I'm not. How is that whitewashing? That's the problem. It's not whitewashing it at all. Having said that, yeah, Israel literally supported ISIS in Syria against Hezbollah, but that's neither here nor there, okay? The issue here is that the reasons as to why he was killed are because and this is like not my assessment of the situation, this is something that is openly communicated by Benjamin Netanyahu. He would not decouple Hezbollah from Hamas, okay? He would not stop bombing northern Israel as a deterrence in the tit-for-tat cross-border bombing campaigns, which Israel was still responsible for 80% of, and it's even higher now, in an effort to exhaust Israel's resources in any way, shape, or form. Okay? That's the reason why they killed him. They openly said it. All right? Now, you can hear the celebrations over and over and over and over again from every orifice of mainstream media and even independent outlets. Okay? And here, I mean, this is right here. Israel decided to kill Nasrallah after he refused to separate Lebanon from Gaza, officials say. There you go. Like, they're openly admitting it. It's not like this isn't like a scary or fake news or conspiracy. They're like very openly saying it, right? So what you need to understand here is that like his homophobic or Hezbollah's like domestic policies, okay, as a political force within Lebanon, or even taking advantage of like the political chaos in Lebanon and becoming like a relatively popular party as a direct consequence of the destabilization in Lebanon, in Lebanese politics. Like, none of this stuff is consequential or matters in this circumstance, okay? His assassination, which was incredibly bloody, a complete unjustifiable act of terror that killed hundreds of civilians with 2,000-pound bombs that Israel got from the United States of America that it said it was not going to use in fucking Gaza, that it used in Lebanon, in Beirut, the capital of Lebanon, a sovereign nation. Ugh. Like that right there is completely unacceptable. And people are hyper-focusing on his background or his political statements or whatever the fuck he has said about gay people as a way to be like, no, you should be celebrating this. You should be celebrating this. Okay? It's idiotic. No, I'm not going to celebrate a dude being fucking assassinated alongside hundreds of fucking children, women, doctors, nurses, academics. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? These are human beings with lives, dude. They're not collateral damage. 6 city blocks were taken down in the middle of fucking southern Lebanon, and not even southern Lebanon, southern Beirut. It's fucking stupid. He was not assassinated because of his actions in fucking Syria. Okay? He was assassinated for his actions against Israel. And I think it's quite strange when I hear people be like, but these people are celebrating it, dude. You don't understand. Well, those people don't recognize that Israel will do the exact same thing to them and might even do the exact same thing to them. Friends are saying it's like Gaza and Beirut now is just as dire. Exactly. And the irony is, this is the exact same fucking approach to Hamas. This is how Israel justified and whitewashed its own war crimes and genocide and justified its own genocide in Gaza. They're just running the exact same playbook. So it's very frustrating to hear people literally repeat the exact same shit. That's it. That's the problem that I have here. I'm watching the exact same assessment and the exact same calculations and the exact same propaganda now move from Gaza, where there is an ongoing genocide, to Lebanon, where there is a new Gazification. And this is a complete fucking foreign sovereign nation. And it's not only something that I have been saying for months was going to happen, that liberals basically just, wrote off as silliness, but it's not even a fucking October surprise at this point. Like, it's not a surprise at all. It was the most obvious next step in Israel's actions if left unrestrained, right? And that's happening. It's happening in front of our fucking eyes. Felix and I were talking about this last night, and I believe he brought this up in his podcast as well on Chapo Trap House, where he said something really interesting that I probably will be repeating quite a bit. The circumstances in terms of domestic policy in the United States of America during World War II, okay, was dire. We were a country that enforced segregation, a country where gay people were, either chastised, cast aside, or straight up fucking killed, okay? But we still ride for Easy Company, okay? We still celebrate Easy Company. I watch Band of Brothers. I stand and salute the goddamn flag, okay? The idea that these guys are unique in their fucking cruelty and brutality. Like, America was still an imperialist force, okay? But an imperialist force that was fighting against a far greater problem, okay? And Easy Company, like World War II, American troops, we celebrate, obviously, American troops in the situation. And the inherent irony of this kind of assessment that I find really strange, other than just like a pure justification for death and destruction for all that is collateral damage in Israel's bloody conquest, is that no such criticisms exist in the media for fucking MBS. I've never heard a motherfucker be like, yo, Joe Biden went and linked up with Mohammed bin Salman. Like, everything that we say about like America's adversaries, right? Groups and entities that are declared terrorist organizations, regardless of whether or not they have like civil governance divisions and are responsible for like regular upkeep and daily lives of hundreds of thousands of people, right? We never fucking have this kind of attitude. Like, how dare Biden talk to declared law? Terrorism is a declaration. That is what it is. It's not like a real distinction. It's simply assigned by state actors in an effort to declare non-state actors completely beyond reproach. State actors that you can do anything and everything you want to them, including but not limited to assassinating them alongside hundreds of fucking civilians that happen to be in the area. That is the way that you justify this kind of death and destruction. You justify it by saying, there it is. It's just, it happens. They just shouldn't have been around them. And I don't think people understand this. I don't think people recognize this. And I don't fault you for not recognizing it, because why should you? This is, billions and billions of dollars of propaganda, especially since the post 9/11 world, the post 9/11 universe, where The designation is set clear, and beyond that, it's just you cannot fucking ever be like, hold up, maybe we shouldn't be invading these countries, right? Like, that's not a thing. That's like, oh, you're an un-American piece of shit. You're a terrorism lover. This really showcases Israeli liberalism from the drafter's perspective. If you're a northern Israeli citizen, sure, you could go out and protest for a ceasefire, which would end all the violence. But man, let's just throw bodies of the northern enemy, kill thousands while getting killed by the thousands. And the libtards who weren't drafted will just sit from the sidelines and say it's a good idea. Truly revolutionary thinking. Exactly. It's also, it's suicidal. It's suicidal. There are rumors of ground invasion. It's not rumors. It's happening already. So anyway, the thing I want to explain here is that there is a deliberate reason as to why everything that they say about Hezbollah, which, by the way, some of which is true, but the reason why they don't say that about MBS or ever criticize Biden for fucking linking up with MBS is because MBS is our ally. Okay? That's it. Like, you think the fucking Saudi government is not homophobic? Like, what are you, fucking crazy? When Biden links up with MBS, shakes his hand, I don't hear any fucking criticisms about that. We back some of the most rigid mentalist psychopaths around the fucking world. But you don't hear liberals chirping about that. Okay? You know why? Because they're our allies. We have to make allegiances. Yeah, Bezalel Smotrich literally, okay, Finance Minister of Israel, Bezalel Smotrich, literally called himself a homophobic fascist. Anyway, Hezbollah worked with Syria's dictator, but they were also fighting ISIL in Syria to keep them from taking over the Levant. They literally wanted a Muslim Levant, and Hezbollah stopped that. This shit is complicated. Thank you. Exactly. And before you guys fucking yell, Caprice on Poppy, not exactly a pro Hezbollah guy. Okay, I mean, he's Christian. He's one of those Christians that rarely ever gets coverage. You know, people assume, you know, well, he's unfortunately too brown, so people's automatic assumption is, oh, Palestinian, Lebanese, you're one of the bad guys. So that's the thing, right? Let's get back to Ta-Nehisi Coates now, because he was making a good point before I shut him off. I went on a tangent here, but my perspective on this is damn near identical. My goal here as an independent outlet, an independent news and commentary provider, is to give voice to the historically voiceless. Okay? I care about human beings no matter what their background is, no matter what their beliefs are. I make this calculation. That was 30 minutes ago. I know. Shut up. So that's why, if you want, I always repeat this point. If you want like mainstream media coverage, there are a million different places you can go to that will tell you. Okay. But if you want me to tell you that, I'm not going to lie to you. Okay.
The ability to talk. I have asked repeatedly in my interviews whether there is a single network, mainstream organization in America with a Palestinian American bureau chief or correspondent who actually has a voice to articulate their part of the world. I've been a reporter for 20 years. The reporters of those who believe more sympathetically about Israel and its right to exist don't have a problem getting their voice out. But what I saw in Palestine, what I saw on the West Bank, what I saw in Haifa in Israel, what I saw in the South Hebron.
Oh, that's so gracious and noble of you, giving voice to the voiceless, the ego on this fella. You have to be a fucking absolute moron if you hear what I'm saying in this situation and you go, oh, it must be ego that is doing this. Dog, I'm about to go speak at USC. There are literally Zionist organizations that want me to not speak at USC later today. And they've tried to do like a messaging campaign or like a letter writing campaign to stop that from happening. Okay? Everywhere I go, because of the fact that I think Palestinians are human, or because I think that Lebanese people that died are important, that have normal lives, a position that is not unfortunately heard of at all in mainstream media, I get called a fucking anti-Semite, an Islamist fundamentalist, a terror lover, a terrorism lover who wants to blow up things every fucking day of the week. This is not ego, okay? This is just simply what I'm doing. And if you ask the people on the ground, if you actually do talk to them, if you cared about their perspective, they would agree with this assessment. These are people that do not get any sort of fucking coverage whatsoever, okay? Are you streaming the USC talk? Yes, I am.
Hills, those were the stories that I have not heard. And those were the stories that I was most occupied with. I wrote a 260-page book. It is not a treatise on the entirety of the conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis.
But if you were to read this book, you would be left wondering, why does any of Israel exist? What a horrific place committing horrific
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate for you, I
acts
guess.
on a daily basis. So I think the question is central and key. If Israel has a right to exist, and if your answer is no, then I guess the question becomes...
One more important thing, the last president of Lebanon was on, which is a political party that is Christian, but they align with Hezbollah, so technically the entire Lebanese government is Hezbollah. I mean, that is the calculation regardless. People are going to die. People are dying regardless of what their fucking background is. Doesn't matter. Israel's killing them, not making this distinction anyway. Also, it's a ridiculous distinction to make regardless. Like, it's not appropriate when Russia does it to Ukraine, claiming Azov battalion, claiming denazification, and it's not appropriate when fucking Israel does it to Lebanon. It's ridiculous. The problem, of course, in this situation is that the American media lovers, okay, people who read and want to be informed about this subject matter, that only look at Western media resources, have two different minds on this. When Russia does it, it's bad. When Israel does it, it's good. Why? Because that's what the media is telling them. And that's all they don't want to think critically beyond it. They don't want to go, what does my own personal morals say about this? Would I think it appropriate if Russia fucking blew up entire city blocks, killing hundreds of civilians because they wanted to get to an Azov battalion military commander? No, I don't think so. I don't think it's appropriate at all. So why do I think it's appropriate when Israel does it to Lebanon? And this kind of cognitive dissonance is unfortunately far too common. And it's far too common as a direct consequence of the way in which American media covers this issue.
Why do the Palestinians have a right to exist? Why do 20 different Muslim countries have a right to exist?
My answer is that no country in this world establishes its ability to exist through rights. Countries establish their ability to exist through force, as America did. And so I think this question of right to Israel does exist. It's a fact. The question of its right is not a question that I would be faced with any other country.
But you write a book that delegitimizes the pillars of Israel. It seems like an effort to topple the whole building of it. So I come back to the question, and it's...
Yeah, dude, this right here is such a funny and such a damning take. And not in the ways that this man thinks it's a damning take. Because he is technically right. Because everything that he's saying in the book, I haven't even read it, but I've seen some of the coverage over the book, and his perspective on the matter I'm very familiar with because I've been tracking it even before this book came out. This change of attitude from Ta-Nehisi Coates, something that I welcome and something that I've talked about quite frequently. In terms of his like recalculation of the humanity of Palestinians and how he was shocked at the utter depravity of the apartheid, especially when he went to the West Bank. The conclusion that he's arriving at is the complete dismantling of the current Israeli government and Israel as a nation state. That's a terrifying prospect for this guy, but the reality of the matter is a lot of other people are also going to inevitably come to that conclusion as long as Israel wants to maintain its genocidal ambitions, as long as Israel maintains its apartheid. It's just the correct position morally. He's mad that Ta-Nehisi Coates is lending credence to this idea. It is ridiculous. And it is no different than someone saying, if you abolish slavery, the hierarchy of the South will fall apart, that the recently freed slaves will come back and kill all their white slave masters. You cannot do that. You mustn't do that. We had the same exact argument with the Troubles. We had this exact same argument with the Algerian independence movement, the Algerian revolution. We had this exact same argument over and over again with people with vested interest in apartheid South Africa and the maintenance of that apartheid. Okay? You're upset that the institutions that rely on dealing death and destruction as a way to maintain like ethnic and religious superiority in a nation state that is developed around said ideal are unconscionable and morally depraved. And if someone calls that out, then of course other people are going to turn around and say, yeah, we should dismantle that piece by piece. It is the correct position. It's crazy to me that that is like something that he doesn't even fucking understand. He's coming to that conclusion himself, and he's upset with that because he wants Israel to continue existing as it is. We've talked about this at length, of course, the difference between dismantling of the apartheid and nuking Tel Aviv and making all Israelis into refugees when talking about Israel has a right to exist. Exactly. Ta-Nehisi Coates is not saying nuke Tel Aviv, okay? Nobody is saying that. I'm not saying that, okay? The people that say that are angry and they're fucking chirping. They have no power whatsoever. And even if they did legitimately believe that, like they believe that opinion, have that opinion. And I know a lot of people are immediately be like, oh, I am. You're fucking stupid and it doesn't matter. You will, like, the American government doesn't even listen to the demands not made by fucking random anonymous accounts online, but the majority of the American public in terms of not nuking Tel Aviv, but stopping weapons transfers. Okay? Another very funny and very correct Felix position was, and I'm going to read this, okay? In terms of like lending part to Hezbollah or whatever, Felix also said, hold on, let me see if I can find it real quick. He said, I hate that the central conceit here is that any American can meaningfully support Ansar Allah, Hezbollah, or really anyone like that. An American supporting or condemning any of these groups, they literally can provide no material, logistical, or any other type of tangible assistance to, makes as much sense as an American condemning the Battle of Agincourt. It's like, that's it. Like, we're just chirping into the fucking void. The American government is doing whatever the fuck it wants regardless. That much is clear. It's just like people who have no fucking, people who have no power whatsoever, either adopting the position of the American State Department in an effort to make themselves feel, make themselves feel powerful. Like, hey, at least we're giving death and destruction to these barbarians, these fucking monstrous Muslims. Yeah, hell yeah. I don't have health care. I will never be able to retire. I will never be able to own a home. But guess what, dude? At least it's all worth it because we're fucking over some people that have nothing, right? Like, either they lean on American foreign policy in a desperate attempt to make themselves feel powerful in all of the powerlessness that they actually fucking experience on a daily basis, or they look at all this and go, this is really fucked up. Maybe we should not do these things, okay? But ultimately, neither side actually has any fucking change. Neither side has any real voice in the matter, okay? That's it.
It's what I struggled with throughout this book. What is it that so particularly offends you about the existence of a Jewish state that is a Jewish safe place and not any of the other states out there?
There's nothing that offends me about a Jewish state. I am offended by the idea of states built on ethnocracy, no matter where they are.
Muslim included.
I would not want a state where any...
He said Muslim included. Yeah, no, dude. Ta-Nehisi Coates actually wants a Muslim ethno-state. Oh. Like, this is like the Hosborough talking points. Just as many fucking chirping ass talking points as much as possible.
Group of people laid down their citizenship rights based on ethnicity. The country of Israel is a state in which half the population exists on one tier of citizenship, and everybody else that's ruled by Israelis exists on another tier, including Palestinian Israeli citizens. The only people that exist on that first tier are Israeli Jews. Why do...
It's true. Lots of glib. Well, here come the hits. Within the first 30 seconds, Tony Dokapil more or less calls Coates a terrorist lover, then vomits out every dumb pro-Israel cliche before Coates even can get a word out. Even get a why don't Palestinians have agency drop in 2016. Coates is denying agency. Repeat, Coates is an agency denier. Lots of glib racist bullshit, but Dokapil gives the game away when he positions Israel in opposition to 20 Muslim countries rather than their relationship with a distinct Palestine or Palestinian people. Interchangeable brown people versus small Jewish state is the preferred sandbox. If you're wondering, yes, there are 50 other African countries. Why are you singling out South Africa? It was a very common defense of apartheid South Africa in the mid-1980s. More precisely, 42 black-ruled states. The mechanism of churning out defense for indefensible historic forms of racist violence has not fucking changed. It's the same. Why are we singling out apartheid South Africa? I don't understand. It's just a small bean white ethno state, or not even a white ethno state, but a state that is dominated by the 10% white in group. While the violation of human rights is the norm rather than the exception in most of Africa's 42 black-ruled states. Remember, black-ruled is a substitute in the same exact regard. Black-ruled versus Muslim-ruled, okay? It's always the same nonsense. The spotlight remains on South Africa. The images of racism, white supremacy, Nazism, etc. are a most effective part of a campaign to play on white guilt and to condition hatred to South Africa. While it is true that there are many things wrong in South Africa, the facts are sensationalized and distorted. This channel is full of nuts. Brother, I don't think you can be a pro-apartheid supporter in the holy year of 2024, okay? The year of our Lord. That is crazy, brother. That is actually an unsustainable position. You will be laughed out of most rooms, okay? At least the one room that you won't be laughed out is probably more damaging, which is the, Klan rally that you probably participated in before getting here. Like, that is a wild position, man. People should be more embarrassed to maintain positions like this, to say it loudly and proudly. Like, you should be embarrassed, dog. You should be fucking embarrassed. I think a lot of people see this, see right from wrong, and it hurts their feelings. And then they just, I still believe that there is like something in your brain where you see that and you go, man, you know what? This doesn't seem good. This doesn't feel good. This is making me feel bad. This is making me re-examine my defense for these unjustifiable constructs such as apartheid. And so I'm just going to yell at you instead and say, you're the crazy one. Anyway, I got to pee.
How do we support that? Why is that okay? I'm the child of Jim Crow. I'm the child of people that were born into a country where that was exactly the case of American apartheid. I walk over there and I walk through the occupied territories and I walk down the street in Hebron. And a guy says to me, I can't walk down the street unless I profess my religion. I'm with another pastor. No. I want to. This is very, very important. It is important. It is extremely important.
Yeah, lay it down.
I'm working with the person that is guiding me is a Palestinian whose father, whose grandfather and grandmother was born in this town. And I have more freedom to walk than he does. He can't ride on certain roads. He can't get water in the same way that Israeli citizens who live less than a mile away from him can.
And why
is that okay?
Why is that? Why is there no agency in this book for the Palestinians? They exist in your narrative merely as victims of the Israelis, as though they were not offered peace at any juncture, as though they don't have a stake in this as well. What is their role in the lack of a Palestinian?
I have a very, 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 very moral compass about this. And again, perhaps it's because of my ancestry. Either apartheid is right or it's wrong. It's really, really simple. Either what I saw was right or it's wrong. I am, for instance, against the death penalty. What the person did to get the death penalty, it really doesn't matter to me. I don't care if they were selling a nickel bag of marijuana or if they were a serial killer. I am against the death penalty. I am against a state that discriminates against people on the basis of ethnicity. I'm against that. There is nothing the Palestinians could do that would make that okay for me. My book is not based on the hyper-morality
What's the last
of the
message
Palestinian
you want
people.
In lessons, because many people feel it's complicated. You say it's not complicated. Less than 20 seconds. What's your message?
Less than 20 seconds. I want people to read the book.
Well,
And I don't make the assumption that somebody would just read the book and have read nothing else about Israel and Palestine.
You're still invited to High Holidays. I'll see you at the show. I mean it, buddy.
That'll do it for us.
Thank you.
Out of Time message goes on sale tomorrow.
That's great, man. I mean, he does such a good job. He does such a good fucking job. Do you think the reporters on the respective network know what's going on in Gaza is unethical and don't care? Are they really ignorant? It depends. There are definitely, as a matter of fact, plenty of people who consider what Israel's doing to be unconscionable, but obviously there's still a tremendous amount of editorial control over what you can and can't say, what you can and can't report, and the way that you report certain realities. I've noticed that in a wide Hasbara push, Israel's given agency to defend it to people who don't know the history of the region or how to defend it. As a result, the pro-Palestinian experts can consistently make fools of their ideological opponents. They've spread themselves too thin, not only militarily, but with regards to his soft power. Yeah, no. Also because it's a difficult position, chat. It is a fucking difficult goddamn position. It is untenable. It's unsustainable. Because most people still have the capacity to see right from wrong. Let me tell you how. Okay? White supremacy is learned behavior. You need constant pressure, a constant feedback loop to make people feel resentment and anger and animosity towards others in this regard. Okay? And especially with respect to Israel, it's not white supremacy, it's Israeli, like it's Jewish supremacy, it's Israeli supremacy over Palestinians that are subhuman, right? Israel can maintain that inside of Israel, but Israel can't fucking traffic that behavior into America with the same consistency, right? Because ultimately, a lot of Americans are still going to view Israel as a separate entity. Now, it might pair well with America's war on terror, right? With America's attitude towards Muslims in general, but still, most Americans still see it as a foreign nation and go, I don't really understand it, man. It just seems like a very fucked situation, okay? It's a very fucked situation over there, but like it's obvious that one side is just pummeling the other relentlessly and mercilessly and doing things that I have read in my history books that were wrong. So because of that, most people, you know, when they are equipped with the knowledge of what is actually happening, are probably going to make up their minds on the issue in a way that does not favor Israel, okay? So it's very different. It's very difficult for guys like this who have a vested interest in Israel continuing its existence in the ways that it does exist. It's very difficult for them to fucking defend it, especially against the person who is knowledgeable. Like, this is a CBS Mornings hit, right? It's supposed to be a puff piece about a new book that a beloved neoliberal figurehead has written. Think about that. Now think about the reception on fucking CBS Mornings, dog. Yes, his fucking ex-wife and his children live in Israel. I know. I'm sure that, you know, obviously plays a role in his analysis, okay? Yes. His ex-wife and his 2 kids live in Israel. Yes. You're missing the forest. You're missing the forest for the trees when you're missing the forest for the trees when you hyper personalize his statement, because there are so many people who don't have a direct vested interest in Israel's continuation that still repeat propaganda as though they do. Okay? It does not matter. It doesn't matter that his fucking ex-wife and his 2 kids live in Israel. Do you understand? It doesn't matter at all. There's plenty of people who have no fucking direct ties to Israel that still repeat the exact same sentiment on a regular fucking basis, right? The host, not Coates. Yeah, we're not talking about Ta-Nehisi Coates. We're talking about the host, DeKoppel, Tony DeKoppel, who's like saying some of the most unhinged shit that you hear from Redditors against someone like myself, but this time against a beloved and well-decorated, cherished, celebrated liberal author. You feel me? Anyway, Ta-Nehisi is very well equipped to take this on, and I'm glad he's doing it, and I'm glad that he's using the spotlight that he has currently for his new book to speak on this issue. No, I don't feel you. You're on my computer. Yeah, you're like, it is wild how easily people will just be like, well, I guess you're a terrorist lover now, to a motherfucker like Ta-Nehisi Coates. Like, I'm sorry, guys. I know many of you are unfamiliar with his work or unfamiliar with his reception in broader media, but it's like shocking to hear someone who is or was Obama's like favorite author, who's been invited to the fucking White House like a million times, for simply recognizing right from wrong the moment that he has the courage to fucking put a pen to paper on these issues. They're like, oh, you must be a fucking goddamn terrorist lover. You want to fucking suck Hassan Nasrallah, it seems. It's crazy. Like, that's how quickly this shit switches, dude. Fake friends. Oh, wow, I can't believe as a black man, you literally recognized apartheid when you saw it with your own 2 eyes and chose to write about it as a celebrated author. You must be, you must be some fucking freakish terrorism lover and defender and supporter. Nice, dude. But I will say that this spells a change in attitude that is welcome. The fact that they're having him on these fucking slots to defend his positions is a good thing. It will, especially because he is a wonderful communicator. He is He is, you know, pretty fucking good at he's pretty good at fucking dressing distortions. So overall, it's good. It's good that he's doing this. Also, like I said, South Africa should not be singled out by Anne-Marie Kriek. Anne-Marie Kriek, a lecturer in international politics at the University of South Africa, is on sabbatical in Fort Collins, Colorado. Contrary to popular belief, the whites did not take the country from the blacks when talking about apartheid South Africa. This is in 1982. A defense of apartheid South Africa. You might notice the similarities, the posturing against like the one tiny South African apartheid versus the scary many different black African countries run by blacks. Why don't the black people go elsewhere type shit? You may have noticed that this talking point is identical because it is, because the boundaries, the moral boundaries are identical. The Blacks. Contrary to popular belief, the whites did not take the country from the blacks. When the Dutch settled in Cape in 1652, they found a barren, largely unpopulated land. Together with the French and German settlers, they built a dynamic society. There are endless lists of human rights violations, mounting atrocities of black against black. Political prisoners are tortured in Zimbabwe. There are 200,000 to 300,000 people behind the barbed wire in Mozambique. Escaped SWAPO detainees tell of torture, in some cases until death. The list goes on, and yet it never seems to get the attention of the media or the anti-apartheid campaigns. Doesn't that sound like exactly the same as, something that's happening right now? I'm just reading this for no reason. Why is South Africa so harshly condemned while completely different standards apply to black Africa? Despite human rights violations in Zaire, President Bush applauds Mr. Mobutu for his contribution in the Angola talks while mentioning the atrocities in South Africa. Is it that one form of repression is more acceptable than another? Or is it that black-white oppression hits home? Or is it maybe that better conduct is expected of a white-ruled country than from black-ruled Africa? Much to consider. But yeah, this kind of shit is not new, chat. Not new at all. People think that the Western countries were keen on sanctioning South Africa, but it took like 50 countries in the Soviets to threaten to drop out of the Olympics to get the IOC to ban South Africa from the Olympics in Mexico. That's just one example. Yep. And for the record, something that I repeat over and over again, okay? Something that I repeat over and over again is that the Western powers considered Nelson Mandela to be a terrorist. So did the South African apartheid government. So did the government of Israel, which was in close partnership with the apartheid South African government for obvious reasons. The American government, as a matter of fact, did not take him off the terrorism watch list, the terror watch list, until 2008, decades after he had already been the democratically elected leader of post-apartheid South Africa. So yeah, now they use Nelson Mandela as a beacon, a shining beacon of humanity. Back then, their approach was quite different.
Israel may be now launching a limited operation into Lebanon. Are you aware of that? Are you comfortable with their plans?
I'm more aware than you might know, and I'm comfortable with them stopping. We should have a ceasefire now. Thank you.
And the hurricane is...
Israel may be now launching...
Yeah, we got to stop this special military operation, but I just am simply powerless to do so, even though I do have the power to not give them more weapons, but I refuse to do that. Is he really powerless, or is he just incompetent? He's incompetent. He's not powerless. The president of America is not powerless, especially when it comes to Israel. Come on, guys. 2 bits of domestic Israeli politics. 1, the government just prohibited all gatherings of over 1,000 people in the center of the country, including Tel Aviv, so we can say goodbye to the hostage protests for now. And yesterday, too, the governing coalition gained 4 seats as former Likudnik, then former anti-Bibist, now former Bibi ally again, Gideon Sa'ar joined the government with his National Right Party. This will add both tensions and rigidity to the coalition. Nice. Biden is not powerless in the face of these atrocities. He has all the power. He holds all the cards. If anyone tells you that he is powerless, he's a small bean. You're out of your fucking mind. Anyway.
Airstrikes hit Houthi targets in Yemen over the weekend after recent attacks on Israel. The Israeli military says it also bombed Hezbollah command centers in Lebanon. Hezbollah's longtime leader was among the dozens of people who were killed. MTS Tayyab reports from the Lebanese capital of Beirut.
It was in these massive Israeli airstrikes on Friday night that Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah was assassinated, triggering a major escalation of violence. All weekend, Israel has been relentlessly pounding sites across Lebanon's south and east, but mainly the southern Beirut suburb of Dahia, where entire residential buildings have been flattened. We went to the aftermath of one Israeli strike on the edge of Dahia, which was still smoldering.
Well, this was once a 5-story building, and it's pretty much all but obliterated. Okay, we don't know exactly what that was. That clearly a very loud strike in the distance, and it really just underscores the situation across southern Beirut as Israel continues to strike it heavily.
Over the past week, Israel has assassinated at least 5 Hezbollah commanders, 19 in the past few months, decapitating the Iranian-backed militant group's leadership. But this rapid escalation of violence has also killed at least 1,000 others in just the past 2 weeks, 105 on Sunday alone, according to the country's prime minister, who also said nearly 1 million people have been displaced. At Beirut's iconic Blue Mosque, some families, many with young children, have come here desperate for safety.
Well, this place of worship has really become a refuge for those who have fled Israel's bombing, telling us that they would rather sleep here out in the open than go back to their neighborhoods until they know it's safe.
Like Samar al-Atrash and her 3 children, who left their home in Dahia with little more than the clothes on their backs. I told my kids it's scary and that we can't go home, she says. I'm only telling them a little at a
1,000 people. But hey, dude, massive success. Hassan Nasrallah's dead. People are celebrating it all over, all up and down the timeline. I'm a terrorism supporter, right? I'm the terrorist supporter. If Hezbollah conducted similar strikes to this inside of Israel, in Tel Aviv, to kill Benjamin Netanyahu, okay, and killed 1,000 Israelis in that process, Israeli civilians and military members alike, but overwhelmingly civilians, by destroying entire city blocks with 2,000-pound bombs. If you heard that, the media would be covering it as the most devastating day in Israeli history. And I know that already because it's October 7. And October 7 is the only thing many of these people exclusively talk about in an effort to justify Israel's atrocious behavior since, and in a way to almost justify Israel's atrocious behaviors before October 7, if people do know about that. But the 1,000 civilians that were mercilessly slaughtered is simply collateral damage because Israel did it. Okay? Understand that. We're not even, like, that right there, by the way, is if the morality was on an even playing field. It is not. The larger party that is a settler colonial state absolutely bears the largest responsibility for the atrocities, even the atrocities that it invites as a retaliation. Okay? It's not even a moral playing field, but I'm simply expecting that from those who are at least somewhat open-minded, because, I mean, obviously they will not operate on a moral playing field, because if they were to operate on a moral playing field where they placed Hezbollah on the same fucking moral playing field as Israel, this reality all of a sudden changes the dynamic quite a bit, doesn't it? Okay? All of a sudden it looks like Hassan Nasrallah is far, far more restrained, just like Hamas has been far more restrained than Israel. That's it. So the starting point can't even be an even playing field. You must continue to depersonalize, dehumanize the enemies of the American state and the enemies of our allies. My goal is obviously not just to put this on the same fucking morality as though there is no, like, action and reaction here, but that's a good starting point for some. Look at that. They're saying October 8th, Lebanon started firing at northern Israel. That's a lie. No, October 8th, Lebanon fired on Sheba Farms, which Israel declares its own territory. One of the arguments I always point to is that Israel has an Iron Dome. They have a moral obligation that to de-escalate when they have superior domestic defense systems. Instead, they go to war asymmetrically and claim they're the righteous ones to an objective overseer. They are, in fact, the instigators. Yes, they are. And, of course, ironically, Lebanon does not have anti-air defense systems.
This AI-generated image when
Zionist influencers in Hasbara online from Al Jazeera. Oh, is there English? All right, we'll look at that in a second. Incredible Bloomberg data visualization that clearly shows what's actually going on between Israel and Lebanon. First, despite all the talk of the threat of Hezbollah rockets hitting Israel, it's actually Israel that's consistently firing far more rockets over the border. While some Israelis have died due to Hezbollah attacks, far more Lebanese people have been killed by Israel since October 2023. And that number has vastly increased through September as it turned its focus north. Does Lebanon have a right to defend itself? No, of course not. The answer is no, it does not. Oh yeah, I saw the J-Post article. I'm surprised that they even deleted it. Look at the title of the suspiciously timed and removed J-Post article. Did the Jerusalem Post delete the article claiming God gave Israel Lebanon? Yeah, is Lebanon part of Israel's promised territory? Was the J-Post article. I'm shocked that they deleted it. Normally, they wouldn't do such a thing. They don't give a fuck. They'd be like, yeah, it's true.
At times, so I don't traumatize them.
Now, President Biden has said an all-out war must be avoided. But take a look at this video from CBS News' Chris Livesay and team who are on the northern Israeli border with Lebanon, where tanks and armored vehicles have been massing in what's being described as the clearest sign yet Israel is preparing for some kind of ground invasion, something that has the potential of being far deadlier than anything we've seen so far. Tony.
Yeah, if Hezbollah thought that Israel was going to graciously take a year full of rockets, Hezbollah miscalculated. Imtiaz Tayyab in Lebanon. Imtiaz, thank you very much.
Well, a U.S. official tells CBS News that Israel has...
Fuck around and find out 1,000 humans that were killed by Israel. Fucking pig. Gross pig. Piece of shit. Same guy, by the way.
...notified the U.S. that it intends to launch a limited ground incursion into Lebanon. That operation could begin as soon as today. Israel has ramped up its strikes on Iranian proxy groups across the region. An Israeli airstrike struck an apartment building in central Beirut earlier today. It's the first attack in that part of the Lebanese capital in nearly 2 decades. The IDF carried out additional airstrikes in southern Lebanon as well. Meanwhile, Yemen's Houthi-run health ministry says at least 4 people are dead and more than 24 injured by an Israeli strike yesterday. The Israeli military says the attack targeted Iranian-backed Houthi rebels. The escalation follows the Israeli military killing of Hezbollah's leader in an airstrike on Friday. Now the group's acting leader is vowing to continue its battle with Israel despite much of its top command being killed recently. CBS News foreign correspondent Chris Livesay has more.
We're seeing some of the clearest signs yet of Israel's preparation for an expansion of the conflict. Dozens and dozens of tanks, armored fighting vehicles, and bulldozers, virtually everything you would expect for a ground invasion. And this comes just days after Hezbollah confirmed the targeted killing of the head of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, and in the face of ongoing airstrikes in southern Beirut and in southern Lebanon, just a few miles from here. Now, if Israel is to mount this ground invasion, it comes after days and days of Israel making these warnings. But on the other side of that border with Lebanon await tens of thousands of Hezbollah fighters, many of them hardened by fighting in Syria, not to mention tens of thousands of rockets. There's also a long reputation in southern Lebanon and of Hezbollah using explosive devices along the road, using improvised bombs, booby traps, and suicide bombers. Chris Livesay, CBS News, Northern Israel.
Yeah. Oh, God forbid they use booby traps, dude. Inside of their own country against an invading force that literally used booby traps in a completely sovereign nation.
Let's bring in CBS News national security contributor Samantha Vinograd. She's also a former assistant secretary for counterterrorism and threat prevention at the Department of Homeland Security. Samantha, what more are we learning about Israel's possible ground operations in Lebanon?
Well, we're learning that the Israeli government has reportedly given notice to the administration that they intend to launch a limited ground incursion into Lebanon. This comes as no great surprise to anyone who's been following the conflict over the past several weeks. Israel has been increasingly striking further into Lebanese territory to try to mitigate the threat posed by Hezbollah. And Israel has also been repositioning.
Oh, shit. Oh, thank God. I was worried that it was for some other reason, but there's a good reason for it. Never mind. It's to mitigate threat. It's called escalation through de-escalation through escalation. How do you call Hezbollah a political party when they're run by Iran? Is Hezbollah not the equivalent of a political party in America being run by a foreign country? What? Like if Canada had an American party? First of all, Canada does have an American party. Have you ever seen like conservative leadership in Canada? They just are carbon copy Americans. That's number one. Number two, no, dog, Hezbollah is not run by Iran. They are literally Lebanese people, brother. What are you talking about? They're Lebanese Shias. They get support from Iran, which is also another Shia nation. Okay? At least the last CPC leader was American. Yeah, that's right. Hezbollah is not operated by Iranians. That's insane. No, it's operated by Lebanese Shias. Okay, well, I don't know enough to question you here, but okay, but it's fine. Go ahead. Ask me some more questions. Or maybe you think I'm lying to you. I don't know. Do you think I'm lying to you? No. Lebanon is a very diverse, multi-ethnic, multi-racial, or not multi-racial, sorry, multi-religious country. Don't tell the chatter to shut the fuck up, chatters. He doesn't know. At least he recognizes that he doesn't know. That's important. Okay, but there is no country with an equivalent party. Virtually every other country has an equivalent party. They're just usually the party in power, and their ally is not Iran, but the United States of America, if that makes sense. But because I assume you're American, you probably don't have an issue with that and don't see that as like a bad thing overall. Or like the GOP in Russia? No, not necessarily, not even.
Assets within Israel itself, ostensibly in preparation for that ground invasion. Now, what remains to be seen is how limited exactly that will be in nature, whether it is in fact contained to southern Lebanon, and whether the strikes into the heart of Beirut do continue, Lindsay.
So Israel has killed 7 top Hezbollah commanders, including the group's leader, in the past 10 days. How has that changed their operations?
Well, Lindsay, it's not just Hezbollah leaders. In fact, Israel has methodically been striking and assassinating the leadership of Iranian-backed proxy groups, terrorist groups, for several weeks now, whether it's Hezbollah, Hamas, or other Iranian proxy groups. This has had an impact on these proxy groups' command and control structure and its capabilities. In addition to that, the pager and walkie-talkie attack that Israel reportedly launched.
I love having a government stooge be like, no, this is great. It's methodical. But yeah, here it is. Israel's currently conducting a limited operation targeting Hezbollah inside of Lebanon, the U.S. State Department. Okay? That's from like earlier today.
Earlier this month, did also wound likely thousands of Hezbollah fighters.
What did Lebanon ever do to Israel? Like, how was Israel justifying attacking Lebanon? Israel pushed out a lot of Palestinians, some of which that went to Lebanon. That became a major problem for Israel because, you know, they were using Lebanon as a way to attack Israel. Israel invades Lebanon. One of the groups that's not Palestinian originally, that are simply Shia Muslims living inside of Lebanon, goes, hold on, what the fuck? These guys are just like butchering people and blowing up building blocks with our children in it. We have to rise up in arms against them. This is a very reductive way to explain it, but that's when Hezbollah is formed. Okay? I was too young to remember much, but was the U.S. war in Iraq, Afghanistan whitewashed like this contemporaneously? Like they just started by saying limited operations? Yes and no. I mean, we have done worse than this in Vietnam. Gulf of Tonkin. Israel almost done taking out the trash. Aw. Again, I doubt this chatter is Israeli. I doubt this chatter is even a Jewish American or anything like that. This is just simply a person who is celebrating death and destruction, because if he doesn't celebrate it, and this is very sad, this is the sad reality behind these sorts of trolls, okay? I unbanned him so he can speak freely once again before we ban him if they say something fucking stupid. But the sad reality of it is, if you don't at the very least like celebrate the death and destruction of Muslims and Arabs, like what is there? You know, you don't have, again, I will repeat this over and over again. You don't have health care. You don't. You will never be able to retire. You will never be able to own a home, right? So all of that weighs on your conscience. And, you know, I guess there's got to be a reason for all of this. And I guess the reason is America gets to be a dominant force on the planet and kill whoever the fuck they want to. And our allies can do the same. and all of our enemies are barbaric monsters. So I have to celebrate this without recognizing the humanity of the victims, without recognizing those who are unjustifiably slain by this monstrous, barbaric, brutal colonial occupation. Because if I don't hold on to that, then what is the actual fucking project worth for? It's not worth a damn at all.
Damn, this guy's good.